Live strum diddly dum. Live strum diddly dum. We don't know when we're live, so it'll be like live striddly dum. Dum. Live striddly dum dum. Maybe if we're live. I'll find out soon enough. Welcome back to a Tech Yes City live stream. You guys have been telling me you want to see the GPU prices come down. So that's exactly what we're going to be talking about today. So welcome in, join in chat, and if you got questions you need to get off your chest, then make sure you drop one in, because this is going to be those live streams where I'm going to be talking about one particular issue that, of course, is making its way to... Okay, hold on. The chat hasn't updated. So sorry guys. I gotta pop out my chat again. We'll just do a little fixation of little technical difficulty here. Straight away. A little bit of a technical difficulty. There we go. Chat's looking much better right now. I do apologize. Something happened. But we fixed it straight away. Much better than having technical difficulties later on in the stream. But let's have a look. This is where your GPU prices all depend on right now, is the price of Ethereum. And this is because it is all about that profitability for miners. We're going to show you a scary graph, right? There's people that tell me, like these people that come in the chat and they say, look, Brian, the scalpers are buying up all the GPUs. It's not the miners. That's probably because they probably are a miner and they're just trying to defend themselves as to not make the gamers angry. But this right here is proof enough for me, right? We'll show you guys live on live. This is the problem going on right now. So in the last, so this seller has put up the 6700 XTs. He's put them up for $870. And you can just see the amount of people buying these cards. I think it's like 36 cards have been sold. 2 of those, in my opinion, were sold to gamers. That's the one and the one here. The rest of these GPUs have been sold to, like, clearly, if someone's buying 17 cards, they're going to put them on a mining bench. Same with a 12 here, same with a 3, same with a 3. So miners are still buying up these cards. 36 GPUs to 2 GPUs. That's how many are being sold to miners versus gamers. So you can see why the pricing discrepancy is still pretty out there. And as I said, when we got to watch, like, this is what we got to watch for right now. In order for prices to come down, we have to... you're in... Yeah, why am I not in a chat? You're in the chat. You're in the chat, bro. Don't worry. So why am I not in the chat? You're here. We got Designs by IFR in the chat as well. He's just telling us, guys, what's going on, guys? Feeling that energy. Welcome to a Tuesday morning. So Monday's done. Monday's just that day of the week where yesterday in the parts hunt, Monday just became uneventful, really uneventful. But speaking of eventful, I checked this morning, there was some decent used deals. So that's gonna tie in with all the GPU pricing right now, because there's some massive discrepancies where the market is becoming strained from the crypto mining. And you're gonna see, like, coming out soon, it's not just gonna be the gamers that are suffering, right? You're gonna start seeing things like Azus, Aorus, MSI, all these companies that make more than just graphics cards, they are all going to be suffering too. So what we're going to see here is basically a lot of, like, there's going to be a lot of pre-builds and stuff. Like, what's going on?
Just switch your speakers because there's no music.
Switch my speakers.
Yeah, just a little cog.
Oh, that there. Okay. Oh, you wanted some BGM. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I don't know why it does that automatically. So, yeah, hey, I blame the program, not the user. So you should have a bit of BGM now. Should be getting into that relaxing mood. Chat's popping off. You guys are popping off there in chat. But so basically what happens is we got this profitability. Man, I got to turn off snapping. You know, look, snapping works when it works, but, you know, snapping works when it works, but then, like, you need to show the profitability on a live stream. So $3, around $3 again. That 3060 Ti is still making $3 a day after power, which makes it very desirable. Miners are still going to have these MSRP. They're going to make sure these MSRPs stay very high on these new cards. So if we're looking at a 6700 XT, that would probably, off the top of my head, make $2 and something a day. And so as long as the miners can get back their roughly 400-day or under ROI, they're going to buy up the cards, and they're just going to keep buying them up. And so that's the predicament that we're in right now with the mining versus the cards MSRPs, especially if they're selling a individual card. Now that's where things get interesting, because if we're looking at the companies like a Zeus and all that, they're getting strained right now because they can't sell their motherboards, they can't sell their other components, whether it's a monitor, because people will buy gaming PCs, they'll buy a monitor, they'll buy all this other stuff, a fancy RGB keyboard. And so a lot of the manufacturers right now are like, well, we're going to start doing bundles. And in fact, Asus contacted me and they're like, look, do you want to make a video on talking about making a bundle for your viewers? And I'm like, well, is it a good price? That was straight away my first reaction. And they said, yeah, we're going to do the whole bundle for a pretty good price. And I'm like, well, okay, let's do this. So we got that coming out very soon, but you're going to start seeing a lot of other, like Aorus will follow suit as well. MSI will probably start following suit as well, where they'll just want to start selling bundles rather than selling them to the to the retailers. They'll start selling them to the public directly because they'll want to start moving a lot of their stock. Johnny Winter with the DKK. Is that the Corona? He's coming in with a clutch Corona donation. Sadly, if Ergo goes the way of sorry, dude, I woke up an hour ago. Miniges, I think Eth won't Mather and Thigh mine Ergo. I think if Ergo, no, so okay, so you're talking about those other cryptocurrencies. So basically, if Eth goes off, the liquidity in ETH is so big that it can absorb all the miners mining and selling down the coins. A lot of these cryptocurrencies just don't have the trading volume. You're looking at 79,000. That's the volume there. So in one day, over 79,000 Bitcoins or that's insane. The volume here is just insane on these on ETH versus the other one. So ergo, you don't have a whole lot of volume and market cap in these coins. So basically, if all the miners start going over to these cryptocurrencies and start mining and then selling them down for profit, it'll push the price down a lot. So that's one thing about, you don't have to worry, because everyone who's mining at the moment is mining ETH. But if ETH goes off proof of work and goes to proof of stake, then you're going to have a big, sorry, I should have showed you guys. I should have changed the screen over just to the market cap here. So this is ETH right here. ETH has huge market cap. Is that like 243 billion? You see the market cap of Ergo is 195 million. So all the miners start going over to these altcoins. They're just not going to be able to absorb the sell down of the profits, because I guarantee you a lot of those mining farms, they're in it for pure profitability, especially if they've got investors behind them. Investors just want return on their money. So the investors are going to go, hey, well, we want to start getting money back as things go along. So a lot of the big farms will be selling down as things go on. And if the big farms can't sell down the profits, then the coins will, if they can't sell down because there's no liquidity, then the price will just drop. So what you're faced with is just the whole market this whole crypto market is built up on Ethereum right now, especially in relation to GPU mining. So if the price of GPUs go down, it's going to be because Ethereum's profitability has gone down. So that's what we're looking at right there. And this is proof, like, you know, how do you, like, if you're one of those guys in the previous couple of months, you know, I've argued with a few people and they're like, well, it's not miners buying up the cards. How do you justify this? Like, how do you justify this? Right up on my screen here. How do you justify this? Because this isn't scalpers. I don't think a scalper's buying a 6700 XT for $880 and trying to resell it on eBay for $1,000, because after he cuts his fees and all his time and he's got to take on the risk of selling that new card, it's not going to be worth it. So it's the miners. Clearly it's the miners buying up these quantities of graphics cards in this listing, 2 to 36. So there's your time. That's your outpacing right there. So the miners are still a problem, but the miners are still a problem on the new cards. And in fact, this is what we're talking about right now. We've got the companies, like, they're bundling. Like, this is in America. This isn't a bad buy right here, is this bundle So we've got this ABS Gladiator PC. It's like, I mean, the case choice looks like it's terrible. I don't know what they were thinking when they chose this case. They could have just had mesh and no fans, like just mesh on the top and mesh on the front. But other than the terrible case choice, this PC right here is actually not bad if you're in the US. $1,700. You get an X570 tough gaming. You get 16 gig of RAM, 1 terabyte M.2, 700 watt gold power supply, 5600X, and an RTX 3070, and that's in stock. So that's actually a really good buy. But if you buy it, you'd have to definitely leave that side panel off. Like, it's funny that they just take the pictures with the side panel off, because I'm wondering if they just ship it with the side panel off too. Like, you don't need a side panel at all. But besides that, the case, the actual specs of the build isn't too bad. So this would be something, if you're in the market for a higher end PC, you wouldn't be getting ripped off so much. So, but yeah, you see the prices coming down from $16.99. I'll just pull that out for you guys so you can see it. You see the prices of this build coming down to $16.99 from $2,000. That's because these system integrators, they need to move they've got all these parts that they need to move, and no one's buying them because they're too expensive. So yeah, that's the predicament you're in right now. Everyone's hurting except the guys who are getting the graphics cards, putting them in a PC with like 20 other graphics cards and pressing play. So you're going to start seeing the industry will start to react, especially when the likes of a Zeus, who have a massive market cap, they're going to be scratching their heads and they're like, well, is this whole crypto thing profitable? Is it going to be, in the long run, is it going to be good for us? And the answer is no, it's not going to be. And speaking of GPU prices, they can come down at any, like when we talk about people like, oh, GPU prices are going to stay indefinitely up. This is one thing I disagree with, because you see here, we'll point you to a scary reality. And a lot of people forget this. Like, you got to see a video on the Titan X. So yeah, we'll get the Titan X was a cool pickup, wasn't it? We'll be doing an i9 PC with the GTX Titan X. That's going to be in the works. It's going to be awesome price performance. But we'll talk about why the used market's actually going to be more of a savior in the next few months, because mainly because miners aren't targeting it, but we'll talk about a little bit more in depth. But we got here the price of Ethereum, right? A lot of people forget that just as quickly as this rose to 4,179 USD on 11th of May, it can come down even quicker. So just like you see this line here, at any given moment, any day, this floor could just completely drop out and you could see ETH at around $500, $450 again. This is how quick things change in the land of finance. So never forget that. Never forget that the prices of this stuff can change so rapidly. And if it changes so rapidly, when we go to that what to mine graph, if things change so rapidly, you can then have yourself faced with cheap graphics cards, because now the miners, they've got all these cards on their mining bench, and they're not making them any money, and they're not going to be buying, if the price of crypto collapses, they're not going to be buying any more graphics cards because they're not going to be making any more money. So yeah, and that's it. And so is Bing's Buttery, like long term, ETH is going up. I don't know. You don't have a crystal ball. None of us have a crystal ball. Long term, I have no idea. I think honestly, long term, what no one's talking about is the fact that we are, as humans, we're at the end of an innovation cycle. Like seriously, when you really dig down and you think about it, we are at a massive end of an innovation cycle. And the reason being is because if you look at, like, say for instance, you look at 8K TVs versus 4K TVs. I went to the shop and I've spoken to people, have you got any 8K TV sales? And their response was, we haven't sold any of these things. So like, you got these 8K TVs that don't justify the price. They don't justify an upgrade. So we're in, look at me, I'm using a smartphone from 2018. I have no reason to upgrade this smartphone because this one here does everything I want it to. So when you come to a peak in certain technology and people don't need more from it, then they're naturally not going to buy more. So that's actually, in ways, it's a big deflationary pressure that's on the industry. And so this is what no one's talking about, is the fact that I think we're at the end of an innovation cycle where we need another revolution sort of innovation, or another revolution in innovation to then propel the economy forward. So there it is. Like, there it is, straight up. We've reached peak on our current technology. Like when it comes to cars, you've got lithium batteries going in there, but they cost like, if we look at the price of a Tesla, that thing in Australia costs like $90,000. What about your average cars? They're pretty much peaked. Like they don't really get much better. When you go out and buy a $20,000 car, it's not getting much better. So in ways, I feel like a lot of the technology that we're using right now has peaked. And so when it peaks, there's no more real reason to go out and spend more and buy more. So yeah, and people ask, what smartphone am I using? I am using a P20 Mate Pro. Mate P20 Pro. So I had a Pixel 3 XL, but the thing broke down after 6 months. So that was with my that's with my phone history. So I'm sticking, like, I know a lot of guys hate Huawei, but Huawei has never broken down on me. So I'm just sticking to trusty old Huawei for my phones. So, but speaking of that, we're going to go over to chat now, but we're going to talk about also, we'll quickly get over, we'll talk about the used GPUs right now too, because this is the solution right now. But Wave 3, if you guys want an awesome microphone to get out and express yourself on the internets, then this is one of the best mics to do it. For $150, you got the inbuilt pop filter. You've got a clipping filter. You got an on the top here. You can off while you're talking, and you can also change your volume dial and all that stuff. And then if you want to get Windows 11, here we go. Windows 11 Pro Key, technically. You get a free upgrade to Windows 11. Microsoft has announced it themselves. You can get that key right here by using the coupon code BFTYC, and you'll cop yourself a fat discount. $13.50 for a Windows 10 Pro Key. Now, Windows 10, one thing is interesting about Windows 10 as well, is that you want to get a Windows 10 Pro, not a Windows 11 Pro as well. Because Windows 10 Home, apparently, you're going to have to, if you upgrade that to Windows 11, you're going to have to sign in to the Microsoft account. That's going to be a forced thing on Windows 11 Home. As opposed to Windows 11 Pro, you won't have to sign in and have all those telemetry style things happening. Now, let's talk about the used market right now, because this is going to be the savior, right? The used market in the next few months, right? We're seeing, as you saw in the recent parts hunt, you would have noticed, like, Brian, you got some really good prices on GPUs. So Doomsday Clock, you are forgetting crypto has a huge following. Yeah, I am forgetting that, but crypto will have a huge following, and it'll also have a huge unfollowing when there's no more profit in it. Everyone's following crypto. Everyone loves crypto right now because they can stick a graphics card in a PC and make money. Make no mistake, if it'll have a huge unfollowing when things go bust. So I mean, when the punch bowl's out from the Federal Reserve, and when everyone's serving free alcohol, do you think everyone's following and having fun at the party? Yeah, but as soon as you take away the punch bowl, guess what happens? You're probably the most unpopular guy in the room if you're hosting the party. So yeah, that's kind of like what happens with crypto at the moment. But when we talk about gaming though, gaming enthusiasts, I've been a PC gaming enthusiast all my life pretty much, or at least all my adult life, as opposed to crypto. Like I delved in it in 2017, 2018, and then I got out of it. But I did learn a lot from that. And I just realized this whole industry was built up on greed. I think crypto is built up on greed, massively built up on greed. Bob Lecule, $10 donation. Thank you. I love your content, Brian. In Oz, I am seeing a lot of used GPUs on Facebook, but they still seem overpriced. Could you talk about what we should be paying for used GPUs? Hey, perfect, man. Thanks for the donation. I was just about to get onto that. So that's exactly. So with used GPUs, you'll see in the recent parts hunt, I got GTX 980 for, I'd say, a very solid price. Now, I think in the past, last year, before the whole crypto boom, I picked up a GTX 980 for around 180 Aussie dollars. But this time around, I picked one up for 200 Aussie dollars. And if you notice, I was bidding on GTX 970s for 150 versus, I'd say in the past, I used to pay around 120 for them. That was my going rate. So you can see that my rates for paying for used cards has etched up a little bit. I'm paying probably around 10 to 20% more for GPUs on average, but that's still fine. When we look at the used prices that I'm paying for, that's like 10, 20% is really nothing compared to the 200% markup you're seeing on the new cards. So when you've got those massive markups, they're happening. You really want to stick to the used scene right now, because this is the thing about the crypto miners. The crypto miners aren't going to be targeting, the crypto miners are not going to be targeting the used market because they don't want those inefficient cards. Like they're not going to go buy a GTX 980 and pop it on the mining bench because it's not really going to net. Like, I mean, we can check out this watt to mine. It's funny because I don't even think there's there's not even a GTX 980 on here. Like I can't even see a GTX 980. So like you can see, this is where like a lot of these guys, they'll come along and they'll be like, oh wow, like this is they'll come along and they'll be like, okay, my GTX 980 isn't here. I'm not going to buy it. And so you've got a lot of cards right now. And I've said this in the past, the 4 GB and under cards are going to serve much better value for money to gamers than the newer cards will, because the newer cards have more VRAM. The newer cards, of course, have better efficiency. And so that's what the miners, they love that. Someone was telling me as well, the 1660 Super is actually like one of the best cards. The miners actually love the 1660 Supers. And you gotta see that. I mean, for $1.50 a day, I mean, man, you could pick these cards up before that boom. You could pick those GTX 1660 Supers up. Like I remember I was picking these things up for like 290 or something. 200. It was ridiculously cheap actually. But now, yeah, these things are what the miners are targeting too. So it's mainly 3060 Ti, 1660 Supers. They're the two main cards from what I'm told. But again, both those cards, 6 gigabytes of VRAM and 8 gigabytes of VRAM. So I'd be looking for a GTX 980. I think that's a great card. But on that note, we do have to sort of, people lately, like, you know, I did a video on FSR and AMD and I criticized them about dropping the driver support. Make no mistake, like I'll criticize NVIDIA as well. Like I think it's just ridiculous how both AMD and NVIDIA, and we'll point to NVIDIA in this one, they're dropping driver support. Like they're dropping Kepler driver support. It's like now is not the right time to drop driver support if you care about your customer base. If you care about them, you should be like, okay, guys, you know, the GPU market, we understand that the pricing is pretty messed up right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to extend the driver support. Even though we had planned for these drivers to expire this time, we're going to see that the market is very different right now, and we're going to take care of gamers by extending driver support. I think that would be a great gesture towards gamers from both AMD and NVIDIA. So don't worry, I'm not just going to blast AMD about it, where they put out FSR technology, which I thought was more of a glorified sharpening filter, and I got a lot of crap for that. But you know, NVIDIA is doing the exact same thing. Like, hey, we don't care. We're just going to drop driver support quietly. Like, no one's going to talk about this dropping driver support when GPU prices are ridiculously expensive. I mean, if you cared about gamers, if you really did care about gamers, you wouldn't be dropping the driver support. So, you know, there's both AMD and NVIDIA. Like, I'm not just pointing the finger at AMD. Like, you know, this is, at the end of the day, it's like, but for me, it's nothing new. Like, I've been saying it for years. You know, it's nothing new. It's nothing special. I've been seeing this for years and years. That that this is just like it's the same playbook. It's like it's just the playbook. They put out the playbook, and how are we going to make money? That's just all it is. So don't be surprised when these companies drop driver support in the middle of a GPU crisis, because that's what's happening right now. So yeah, never forget that, guys. There we go. Anyway, we're going to go over to chat now, because, so yeah, basically at the moment, if you're buying a GPU, also Canada, people in the comments, talking about Canada, before we go over to chat, people in Canada were telling us about how GPU prices were dropping down there. Yes and no, it looks like it's a similar scenario that we're facing here in Australia. So it looks like your 6700 XT is coming to a price that is right around like just a bit overpriced. So it's just a bit overpriced, and I wouldn't go for this right now if I was looking for pure price performance. I mean, the 6700 XT is a nice card, but if you're in Canadian dollars, you'd want this card to go down to around 750 Canadian. And if you're in Australia, like around 750 Aussie dollars, that's where these cards should be sitting at. If you're in the US, you should be expecting to pay around 500 to 550 US. But of course, as we saw with those, we saw that guy on eBay, miners just buy them up. So as the prices go down and the profitability still stays pretty good for ETH, the miners just have that price floor covered. So that's the problem. the miners are covering the price floor on what the market will be prepared to pay for these graphics cards. And so, yeah, it's going to cause a problem for not just gamers now, retailers, and a lot of people are going to be getting annoyed, very annoyed at this right now. So the solution, guys, the solution in the meantime is to simply buy a used graphics card with 4 gigabytes and under and just ride it out. Because once that floor comes out from crypto, it can happen any day. Any day it could happen. Once the floor comes out from crypto, you're going to see some very cheap graphics cards. And in fact, you could see the opposite effect where they go very extremely cheap, not just very cheap. So if you watch Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony, he predicts the economy will go back to normal as people re-enter the workforce. Yeah, I mean, hey man, if you think if you want to trust your future economic predictions on the Fed Chair Jerome Powell's testimony, then go for it, man. There's a lot that this guy hasn't spoke about. And you know, here's the funny thing. I was actually speaking to a few people behind the scenes. We're going to talk about, I don't know about the Fed Chair, Jerome Powell, but I do know about the Reserve Bank of Australia, the guys in Australia here. And so this is the thing, right? Back in the 1980s, I found out that the guys at the Reserve Bank of Australia, this is the guys who control basically a lot of the finances in Australia. These guys were buying up property. They'd have 6 or 7 properties. They'd be just keep buying up more. Do you think in your right, do you think that people who are working at the federal banks that work for your country, do you think they have no vested interest if they're buying up 6 or 7 properties? These are the people that work for the banks. No, of course, they've got a vested interest. They just want to keep buying up stuff and seeing the assets accumulate and appreciate. And so that's the problem right now, is that a lot of these, I mean, you could even have a lot of these people on these federal banks saying, oh, crypto's a bad thing, but they're invested heavily in it and they're making a big gain from it. So one thing is that a lot of the, one thing is that out of the playbook is that inflation, we've talked about inflation in the past. Inflation is one thing that a lot of these governments around the world, they actually want inflation. They say they don't want inflation, but they do want it. And the problem is that they're facing now massive deflationary pressures. So when you think about it, when you really break it down, when you've got massive deflationary pressures faced with governments wanting inflation, what do you get? You get massive money printing, which is their only solution to the problem. So again, that's what I'm seeing. And that's like what my analysis states, is that they want inflation. So they're going to try and do it any way possible. Now, as far as I'm concerned, what's the future of tech? What does that spell for tech? Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know, like it's going to be crazy. But one thing I know is that at least when it comes to inflation, it doesn't go, I mean, hyperinflation's the big one. That's the one you got to look out for. But yeah, Lynn, you ask a good question. Why do they want inflation? They want inflation so they can wipe out all their debt. They can wipe out the savings of the average person. They can wipe out the value of superannuation. And so that's the reason they want inflation. It's a hidden tax on the average working person. And that's what I mean, is the sooner people realize that inflation's the hidden tax that no one really talks about, then they'll realize why it's so bad for an economy. And it's also bad for GPU prices. It's bad for distorting things like cryptocurrency markets too. And that's what I realized. Like, riddle me this, chat. Riddle me this. Do you think crypto prices would be as high as they are if interest rates were 0%? Do you think crypto prices would be as high as they are if interest rates were 0%? Riddle me that. I think crypto prices would be nowhere near as high as they are if cheap money didn't exist. If interest rates were at where they should be, and that's 3.5%, around 4%, right in line with inflation, if interest rates were at those levels, crypto would be nowhere near the prices that it's at now. I guarantee you that. So what we've got here is a distorted market that's in favor of inflation. So never forget that. But let's move over now. If you guys got questions, we'll get back to tech because this might be getting a little bit too financy for you guys. So, yeah. But because I've gone down the inflation rabbit hole in a few previous live streams. But there we go. So yeah, Drift Pro, he says no. Of course, yeah. I don't think, if you guys will see, it's all tied to cheap money. So the longer cheap money stays around, the longer crypto prices will stay high, and unfortunately, the longer the profitability will stay high, and that means higher GPU prices. So that's another thing as well. But in terms of short-term momentum and over, what do they call it? Rational exuberance, irrational exuberance or something. That's what Greenspan said back in the late 90s. When you look at these financial terms, you'll see that some people go super bullish. Like there's this guy called Michael Saylor who's basically leveraging money to buy Bitcoin, and he believes he just believes this thing is like the be all and end all. Bitcoin is it. It's going to revolutionize the world. It's one thing that no one's really talked about is that, like, you know, how's Bitcoin going to revolutionize the world when the people don't even want to revolutionize the government? Like, I mean, I'm just putting that out there. What is Bitcoin going to do? Like, riddle me that. What is Bitcoin going to do when the people aren't even willing to revolutionize the government? So I just sit here and I scratch my head at cryptocurrencies and sort of like the new argument that people make for crypto. Because, you know, you're not fixing the problem at all. It's another band-aid solution. And in fact, the government, this is what you're seeing in China, right? How's Bitcoin working out for the people in China? You know, maybe 2 years ago, they're like, oh, Bitcoin's going to revolutionize the Chinese government. It's going to really show the Chinese government what's up. And, you know, have a look what happened in China. How's that argument going for them? So anyway, that's my thoughts on cryptocurrencies right now, because I think a lot of the arguments embedded, like we look at Ethereum, smart contracts and everything, that's like more for business, and that's utilizing blockchain properly. So that's, you know, Ethereum has a very legitimate usage, but at the moment I feel like Ethereum's just really hit hard with speculation. Brian, do you have any meme stocks? At the start of the year, I bought some AMC before, because I looked at trends. So when we looked at AMC, I did make a play on AMC at $4.50. So I bought AMC the day before it boosted up, and then I sold it at $19. That was with AMC, because I could see that there was trends going on with GameStop. And so what I did was I looked for stocks that had a low price. So I had some criteria if I was going to look for it. Had to be traded on the same exchange. That was when I looked at AMC, I was like, okay, what's the next big thing that people are going to go for? Had to have heavy short interest. And so when it had those three things, the only stock that stood out was AMC. And sure enough, AMC got targeted the next day. So that was the only play I've done on stock this year, because it was standing out like a sore thumb. There is another play in the works that I'll talk about as it comes along. But I'm watching that right now. So that's if you're looking at stock markets and stuff like that. There is one more play that I'm looking at heavily, but Kenpachi Strength with the Canadian $5. Love the content, Brian. I blame you for my Xeon addiction. Lol. There's nothing bad about that. Speaking of Xeons, how does an X5660 at 4 gigabytes compare to Gen 4, 5, 6, and i7 9Ks? I mean, it compares okay, especially if you want to overclock it like you've done there. Non-Ks, I mean, yeah, it just depends on the game, because the thing that the X5660 is lacking is the AVX2 instruction set, and it might even be lacking the AVX instruction set. So when it's lacking those instruction sets, some of the newer games do take advantage of that, and some of the newer games will just outright not let you play with the X5660. But in terms of the multiplayer games like Fortnite and all that stuff like that, League of Legends and Rainbow Six Siege, it'll play all those games absolutely fine. So it's actually a solid CPU. But as we're seeing is when you've got all these popular multiplayer games, so when we've got all these popular multiplayer games that exist, then what you can see is that the companies are like, well, people don't need to upgrade their hardware. So maybe Microsoft's scratching their head and they're like, well, we need people to upgrade their hardware. So how do we do it? You know, let's introduce some requirements into Windows 11. Because, you know, sometimes it was, you know, funny thing was, it was easier for me to sometimes install hardware on first gen X58 motherboards than it was for me to install on second gen. Because in second generation, some of these OEM manufacturers introduced all this secure boot and stuff like that. And some of your graphics cards just flat out wouldn't work no matter what you did. So there's that sort of requirement that came in with second and third gen that'll give you a taste of what's to come. So Coalition Gamer, Brian, what's up? What's up, man? How you doing? So a lot of you guys are joining in on the chat. Love the X58 platform. Where does it stand against Where does it stand getting Windows 11? So X58, like if you want to get on X58, you can get on right now by getting the Windows 11 dev copy. I'm on Windows 11 dev, you know what I mean? Just jump on Windows 11 dev. I'm on it. I listen to all the naysayers that are like, don't jump on it, man. It's so unsecure. It's so unsafe. And it's like all this stuff. And I'm just thinking to myself, man, were these guys around back in the Windows 7 days, back in the XP days where people were leaking this stuff out before it was released? Like anyone who's used that stuff back in the day will know that the leaked copies are actually sometimes more stable than the actual official release. So I just started using Windows 11 Dev and I absolutely loved it. And I continue to use it here. So I'm using it. I mean, do I recommend using it? Well, if you're like me, sure. But if you've got concerns about it, then sure. Don't use Windows 11 Dev, but I'm using it, and I'm not going to sit around and beat around the bush. I mean, you go around to different tech channels, and you're going to get different opinions, right? But this just reminds me of the old school days of being a window, getting all the Windows leaks and stuff like that. So we got here questions. Brian, how is your dad man going? Haven't heard you talk of him lately. Oh yeah, dad man's all right. I'll have to get him on the next stream. So next month he'll come on the stream for you guys. We'll get dad man on. He can talk about GPU prices and stuff. I have been I've been preoccupied outside of YouTube as well, but I've been trying to get the content done. You guys love the content. I've been trying to get the content done as always. But there is a lot. Like I am preoccupied behind the scenes a lot. So there's a lot going on. And I'm just dealing with all that. So it's in process at the moment. What type of Xeon, not Xenon, Xenon. What type of Xeon is compared to i7 7th generation? It depends on there's heaps of Xeons. Like, are you going for a Haswell Xeon? Are you going for a 7700K? I mean, it'd be like a V5 or something, wouldn't it? 1230 V5 or something like that would be close to a 7th gen Xeon. But the problem is at 7th gen, they needed a separate motherboard. Intel showed the market how, like, I'd say in ways stupid they were. They were like, oh, people were buying up Xeons for gaming back in the day and they were saving a bit of money. They didn't need the iGPU. So what we're going to do is we're going to force people to buy a whole different platform. And it's like, what? Really? So yeah. That generation wasn't good for Xeons due to Intel doing what they did. Mike Slevin with the $5 dono. I got a Corsair 1 Pro case with radiator and power supply for $100. Good value. Love the content and good feels. No worries, man. Thanks for the donation. Depends on the power supply. It always depends on that power supply. I'd say if it's a good power supply, yeah, you got a pretty good deal. Got a really good deal. We got to be careful with radiators as well. If you're talking about a liquid cooler, out of all the stuff that I buy used, I'm going to tell you guys, out of all the stuff that I buy used, the one thing that I am very cautious of buying used is used water coolers. And the reason being is because I've had a lot of water coolers that I've got in the past. I haven't bought them. Like, I haven't really targeted, water coolers individually when I've been parts hunting. But when I've got them in deals, like whole kits or this and that, like literally probably about, I'd say 3 out of 10 water coolers just don't work properly on the used market. So you got to factor that in. That's a high chance of coming into problems when you're buying used liquid coolers. So that's one thing I'll say. If you're in the used market, do be very careful about buying used liquid coolers. So is Dunicron hanging around anywhere or long gone? Oh, yeah, Dunicron, this is what exists of, like, that's in the background. That's the leftovers of Dunicron. What's happened?
Just hide the chat for a sec so I can see it.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I'll quickly hide chat. So there is Dunicron right there. That's what used to be of him. He used to have I've got the X58, I've got the EVGA SR2. That's still around in the studio. I've still got that, but it's just sitting there collecting dust. I changed it over because, yeah, the whole build ended up having massive amounts of problems, and I was just scratching my head with some, like, the water pump was just ridiculously loud. I mean, I loved the build, it was nice, but yeah, I just ended up having so much problems. So that's what's left over of the custom build. Now it's just like a meme. There's just cables everywhere, and it's just like there's fans and everything. It's like there's fans doing a hurricane in there and stuff like that. So, it's got a bit of a Now it's just, yeah, like it's just a meme PC with a bit of RGB. I mean, it does look pretty cool still, I gotta admit, especially in the background when there's a bit of bokeh. Import rates with a 499. Good mic. What brand and model, and how's the weather over there? Weather on the Gold Coast is fantastic. Thank you for asking. What do you mean it's chill? It's really good. Like, if you've been over to a cold country, man, this is like great. This is fantastic. I remember in Japan, I used to freeze. So here's the microphone here, the Elgato Wave 3. It's just a great microphone to get you into the land of doing voice work. I mean, of course, there's going to be much better options out there, like for $1,000 or $2,000, but for $150, this thing is really good. I believe in it. That's why I use it on the live stream. It's a really good microphone. You can't go wrong with this microphone, especially if you just want to get something, plug it in, and you're good to go. But yeah, I mean, thanks. I mean, you'd have to donate to sort of ask that one. I would have, you know, I actually, they're a sponsor of the channel Corsair, which own Elgato, so they're a sponsor on the channel. So they, and I, you know, this is their, I'd say this is one of their best products that they've got. Easy. Christopher Coonan, $5 donation. Thanks, brother. Do Skylake and Kaby Lake have higher single core IPC while overclocked to 4.8 gigahertz or more than an overclocked 8700K or even 10600K? No and no and no. So they're the same IPC, man. When it comes down to the root core, they're the same thing. The 11th gen is different. 11th gen's built up different, but when it comes down to that, you're going to you're not going to see a difference. So if you're playing, like, that's what I mean, if you've still got a 6700K or a 7700K, if you've still got those CPUs and you just play like Fortnite and stuff like that, you're going to see no difference. Like, they're fine. You don't need to upgrade. And that's what I mean. There's, at the moment, again, there's going to be people out there that are still on CPUs from 7 years ago. They're going to 4chan, 4Prez. Come on, man. $5 donation. Elgato is trash. Don't buy. This is the nature of subjectivity. Right here, we're witnessing the nature of subjectivity where one guy's loving the microphone. I'm loving the microphone. If the microphone was garbage, I wouldn't be using it. Hey?
He didn't say the mic, so maybe he just doesn't like the brand.
Oh, he doesn't like the brand, but
The whole
but the
live stream's running on.
yeah, but the whole brand, yeah, the whole live stream's running on Elgato. They can't be that trash, can they? I think at the end of the day, 4chan. I mean, with a name like 4chan for Prez as well, you just got to take this guy's word and then get the opposite of it, and that's what he really meant to say. So we've got to ask the question as well, is that mic a better buy than the Yeti? I like it better than the Yeti, and the reason why I like this better than the Yeti is because it just looks a lot better. Like, if you know, when I've had the Yeti just looks really weird. It looks like you're cusping something. So anyway, so Marco, he's still on Haswell. So yeah, we're talking about that end of innovation. And when we come to an end of a technological innovation, you're going to see people using 7-year-old hardware. So even though they got all these new gains, Ryzen's coming out with the new 5000, they'll have the new 6000 series coming out. You know, people on 5000 will start, like, you're starting to get to that stage where people who have bought the Ryzen 5000 series will ask themselves, do I need to upgrade? Do I really need to upgrade to the 6000 series Ryzen stuff? And that's going to be a big problem facing both AMD and Intel and NVIDIA, well, actually all three of them. It's going to be a big problem facing all these three companies. Is that the big problem facing all these three companies is that the innovation curve is starting to sort of limit themselves to the point where they're going to say to themselves, okay, well, people aren't really buying this new hardware, even though we're giving them new gains, because the people are just so happy with what they've got. So $2 from Console Peasant Rescue. Nice name, dude. Brian, how did you find GPUs for so darn cheap? You just got, like, look, dude, I crap you not. I crap you not. I can't say the other word on stream. I crap you not that, you know, I just, every month I do these used parts hunts. I just look through the market everywhere we go. We're looking high, low, we're looking for deals. We find something, we jump on it. Now, I'm going to be honest, with the parts hunts, you've got to be quick. Like that GTX 980 deal that ended up leading to the Titan X and the GTX 760, that I pounced on that within, I think it was 40 minutes of it being listed. So it just came up. My friend sent me the lead. I messaged the guy. I was like, look, 200 cash. He was asking 250. He just popped back and said, yeah, come around. and come pick it up. And I was like, sweet, okay, there's my lead. I'm going to go get that. Now, that's a pretty good deal, but you've got to be quick. On the good deals, you've got to be quick on them, and you've got to be when you know something's a pretty good price. I mean, the problem is that I offered $200 for it, right? Someone might have come along and said, I'll give you $250, but I didn't really think so. But when you see a good price, if you say, for instance, you see a 1650 Super for $150, you just message the guy, and you know what you do? If you know it's a good price, you might even offer him $10 more. Remember, when it comes to the prices, what you're prepared to pay should be already a good price in the market. So never forget, what you're prepared to pay is also what someone else is prepared to pay. And when you're dealing with that, that's what's known as competition. So if you've got a 1650 Super that you know is a ridiculously good price, offer $10 more. Don't be afraid. I mean, people do it in the housing market. Why not do it in the used PC parts price scene? So don't worry. When we got the title here, when we're talking about prices, man, I'm going to give you guys some of the secrets on how I get some of the deals. I mean, some of the deals I do off camera, but you know, when it comes to it, you got to be quick. So don't be afraid to just have a little quick look on Marketplace, see what's up. I mean, I'm not going to look. I can look now, but I mean, we'll go for a little look. We'll just quickly read some of these donations. So we got here Mark Smith. Cheers from CT. I'm enjoying all the latest Tech Yes content. Your mic is a great choice. Thanks. So he's disagreeing with 4Pres4Chan. And 4Pres, he comes in with another donation. They are trash. $200 HDMI card got owned by Amazon. $15 HDMI to USB adapter. Never forget, never forgive. Dude, I doubt that. I've got the 4K 60 in this PC. That's what I've got the camera hooked up to. It does 4K 30 FPS. A HDMI USB adapter for $15. I've tested one before. They cannot do 4K. I mean, yeah. If you got, yeah, it's probably 720p. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. Look, is the Elgato HD capture card expensive? Yeah, but does it do what it says it does on the box? Yes, it does. So, I mean, I don't call that trash. I mean, if you can't utilize your hardware like the way it's meant to be utilized, how's that Elgato's fault? So, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, again, in your opinion, they could be trash, right? You've explained your usage case, and yeah, if you're using, the price definitely won't be justified if you're not going to use the 4K features of the Elgato card and what it's got to offer. If you're just using 720p and that's all you've got, then sure. So it might be trash. It might be a trash buy for you. But then saying that it's trash for everyone is I don't know. I just think that's a very subjective opinion. It's not really representative of the broader market, so to speak. So anyway, we'll get back to chat here. What do you guys, what if it's a good deal at a gas station? Look, never buy from the gas station. Never buy PC parts from the gas station. That's just my, unless it's a fault. Hey, look, if it's a faulty part, go for it. If you're buying a faulty graphics card, like some of these people are nowadays, if you're buying faulty parts, the gas station might save you some time, you know? So, and at least you know you're not going to get hosed if you're buying a faulty graphics card for $50. And say, for instance, a 1080 Ti, it's faulty. You're buying it for $50. Well, yeah, you can't really get hosed there. So, but I mean, if you're buying working PC parts and you meet someone at the gas station, there's a high probability that part is not working. Anyway, we've got Mike here with Canadian $5. Hey, bro, can you do a 2021 update on the i5 2400 performance and non-threaded like the i5 8400, 9400, 9700, and Ryzen 5 3500? That's a big comparison. I can look at the i5 2400, definitely. If you guys want to see that happen, the thing is, what games do you guys want to see? Every time I do a video, you know, and I include a certain amount of games, like I'm not going to be testing 30 games. I just don't have time to get those numbers and then whack 30 games in a graph. Do you guys want popular multiplayer titles? Are we talking like Call of Duty? We talking Fortnite? Or are we talking the latest and greatest, like say for instance, I don't know, like when the new Battlefield drops? Do you want to see the newest Battlefield on the i5 2400? So what's the general consensus of what games you guys want to see tested? For me personally, it's the more popular games, because if I'm selling an i5 2400 gaming PC, it's more than likely that someone buying it is going to be playing the popular multiplayer games. Actually, not more than likely. It's like 99.9%. So I don't see someone buying a $500 gaming PC with, say, an RX 570 and an i5 4690 or whatever. Those guys, like, they actually do, it can play Call of Duty, like, around 60 FPS. But a lot of those guys will tell me, oh, I'm buying this for Fortnite, or I'm buying this for Rainbow Six or something. So don't be afraid to, which games do you want? So that's the most important question. Mike donates another $2. He says maybe 10 modern games that you normally benchmark. Yeah, okay, so 10 games is still a lot. Like 10 games to properly benchmark, and like for me, because I got to double check all the numbers. So when you benchmark, you got to do a few runs. You got to get down all the numbers, and then you got to double check your numbers, because you don't want to be putting out misinformation. So benchmarking is very hard. In fact, I'd only want to be testing 6 games most in any video or any game properly, because when I test more than that, you start to just, there's so many games that start to get tested, and you don't want to be reusing old numbers as well, especially since a lot of the games have a lot of updates now. So when I do benchmarking, it's always fresh benchmarks, then and there, apples to apples. And so that's how I do benchmarking. And if I'm testing like 10 games or more, it's going to take me a lot longer to get the content out. So Kevin Burnell, $4.99. Thank you for the donation, brother. Just showing my support for the Yes in the community. Cheers to all. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm asking for more. Okay, $2 donation again. I'm asking more for upgrade bottleneck advice. Okay, all right. Well, we'll test. So what we'll do is I'll test 5 games for you. I'll put in 2 of the latest games, and then we'll put in 3 of the most popular multiplayer games. But yeah, I mean, an i5 2400 is not going to be the ideal CPU to get in 2021. So that is not going to be the ideal CPU to get. Put it that way. The ideal CPU, I mean, the 10100, I wouldn't look past that. The i3 10100 and also the Ryzen 3 3100. I wouldn't look past those CPUs. And in fact, we'll quickly check on live stream. What are the prices of these CPUs right now? Because someone messaged me and they were like, Brian, these CPUs, they're really cheap. So I'll just quickly pull the chat. 10100. No, this is bad. 10100 is not like $180. Oh, yeah, that's a big one. That's bad. Wait, 10100F, $110.
What about 11th gen? Would that be better?
Well, you ain't getting 11th gen for $110. I don't think.
I mean, like, is 10th gen just...
I mean, that's good. Like at the moment, that's pretty good. So that's solid. Like if you're looking for an entry level CPU, let's check out the Ryzen 3. Ryzen 3. $170. All right, well, at the moment, looks like the 11100F is your CPU, you know what I mean? So that chip will play a lot of games, and it'll do it for very cheap. You can get a H410 motherboard as well. So it looks like at the moment, the 10100F is leading the budget race. The motherboard prices are atrocious. I wouldn't buy any of these motherboards at this price. Even $82 for a H410. I mean, this is like a $70 board at best. You should be getting these boards for around $60. So don't buy a H310. They're not going to work. So H410 at $97. Yeah, it's like, damn. Is there anything cheap on the offers page? Okay, there's someone selling one for $79. He's got one for $79. That's what's going on there. We got 10400F. 10400F's also a really good buy. Not too bad. 10600KF, that's not bad if you can pick up a cheap Snowman. So there are some decent buys out there. The 11400F was, last time we checked on live stream, it was a pretty bad price. 11400F went up to, that's not bad too. 10700F, don't look past that either. But some of these CPUs are just Ryzen 3 Pro, okay, $300 seems a little bit overvalued too. Market's all messed up right now. 10100F isn't too bad. That's all I'll say. Is there the 11100? Has that been released yet? I don't think. See, that's what I mean. Someone was saying, what about the 11100? It's like, well, I don't know. I haven't seen one yet. I haven't seen one in the flesh. So that's it. So there we go. Anyway, we got questions coming in. I've now seen for a long time that you have entered into a cooperation with VIP SCDKey. Yeah, they're a sponsor here on the channel. Yeah. There was something similar in Germany with Lizengo, but they got problems with Microsoft and the German Public Prosecutor's Office. Okay. What happened there? I have to read up about that story. Yeah, tell me more. I'm actually keen to read. From what I've checked, I have cross-referenced SCD keys heavily, and I did that before I ever put their first sponsorship on the channel. I cross-referenced them heavily, and so their keys were single end user licenses, and so that's the most important thing. If they're the volume licenses, that's a big no-no, and that was the keys. Like when I checked the eBay keys, that was the keys going on eBay. So they were the ones there. We got here Apron. He says, it's 5 a.m. here in India and it feels peaceful watching you. You have a really calm and soothing voice. Just sit back and listen to this calm and soothing voice, baby. That's all you need to do. Just relax. 5 a.m., go back to sleep. Actually, 5 a.m., yeah, I'd probably be sleeping still. 7 a.m.'s like probably the earliest I do it. So we get through, we got some donations coming in here from Adam Schmidt. He's like, on the i5 2400 subject, what max GPU would you pair it with in your test GTX 970 and RX 570? RX 570 or 474 gig, definitely. Yeah, GTX 970, that's actually a good choice. Either or. They're either both good cards at the moment on the used market. Both those cards, the 4 gigabytes, yeah, are both excellent choices. So it's sort of a toss-up. I'd probably go with the RX 570 just because I've bought more of them, much more RX 570s than I have GTX 970s, because there's still that NVIDIA fanboyism that's out there in the market where people want NVIDIA cards. They just want them no matter what. And I think that's why the RTX 3000 series, another element of why it's desirable for miners, is because they want the gamers to have the fallback and they want to be able to resell those cards. So we got here a $4.99 donation from Kevin Burnell. I got an E3 1230 or 12, get an E3 1230 or 1240. They work in almost all boards i5 2500 would, 4-core 8-3. Yeah, he's talking about the Xeons with hyper-threading. They're very good choices if you can pick them up. I'll actually check how much they are on AliExpress right now. It all depends on the prices of what these are worth. The 1230, I mean the 1230, the last time I checked was very cheap. The 45 bucks, that's a V2. That's actually not bad. 46 bucks. So the 1230 V2, that's the Ivy Bridge i7 3770. That's not bad at all. Really good price. Wow. I'll actually put that link in the description for you guys. That's an i7 3770 essentially for $46. That's not too bad. I mean, that'll play games perfectly fine. Very good choice right now. A very good choice if you're in the market. Haswell i5s. There you go, $33. 33 bucks for a Haswell i5. I mean, these chips will play games, especially if all you want to play is like those, popular multiplayer titles. This is the 4-core 4-thread, by the way. But yeah, thanks, Kevin, for reminding me about these beautiful Xeons. They're still going hard, man. They're still living on. Mike with the Canadian $5 donation. Let me explain. I have already an i5 2400, RX 560, sorry, 570. i5 8400 and an RX 5700, i7 9700, RTX 2060 Super. Is it really worth it for me to upgrade CPU to hyper-threaded? Okay, Mike, so you're asking, is it, should you upgrade this CPU to get more out of your RX 570 4 gig? I think I've just got the solution. Like, this is one of those weird coincidences. Update the BIOS on that motherboard with the i5 2400 and get one of, sorry, I'll put it up here. Get one of these. Perfect solution right now would be I would upgrade, because you will get more performance in certain titles, especially in like a lot of titles actually, because the i5 2400 will be a little bit limited with an RX 574 gig, but the 1230, the 3770, i7 3770 will definitely make a perfect match with that RX 574 gig. So that's what I would recommend, just grabbing one of these CPUs, plopping it in there on that first rig you mentioned, and you'll be good to go. The other rigs you mentioned, everything, the specs are balanced, very good balance on those other rigs that you've mentioned. So anyhow, we got here is the okay. Sorry, what's the Revolution Cafe? $2 donation. Will the CPU or motherboard go up due to Windows 11 TPM 2.0? That's a good question. Will the
Is he asking about scalping?
like not yeah? If you're asking about scalping, I don't think people will scalp CPUs and motherboards. There's too many. Like,
Well, people are scalping chips, like the TPM chips, but not.
yeah. I mean, that one's hard to say. I just don't know what will happen with Windows 11. How they, like, could it be that Windows 11 will enforce TPM 2.0, like really enforce it properly where there's no workarounds? If that's the case, you could see newer motherboards being in demand again. But I mean, that being said, are people then really going to want to upgrade to Windows 11? I mean, Windows 10 is still supported till 2025. What we've seen with graphics cards is that gamers don't want to buy them at high prices. So I think the market will always say, okay, am I getting ripped off? You know, there's only so far, like what people have to realize with the markets is there's only so far you can take the consumer. There gets to a point where the consumer just says, look, I've had enough. I'm out. I'm done. And that's what you're seeing now with GPUs and the prices. So the market's holding strong. People are just like, I'm done. I'm out. And so, yeah, you can't rip people off too much. Otherwise, they won't get ripped off anymore. We got here from 4chan4prez. Been using SCDKeys for many years since Windows 7. Good people and good support. Awesome. Thanks for the, man. Yeah, thanks for the donation. Thanks for the shout out for the sponsor. We got here, okay, so there's more donations. Kevin Burnell, $2.99. Some OEM boards won't do the V2 chips. V1. Yeah, it depends. That's what I mean. If you update the board, you should be okay. Like, I've never seen a consumer, if it's an OEM board, yeah, if you've got like a Lenovo or HP, be very careful before buying this chip. So don't go on upgrade, so to speak. Don't go upgrade to this chip if you've got an OEM board. And the easiest way to tell is if it's a green motherboard. If it's a green motherboard, do think twice about trying to get one of these chips. But if you've got like an Asus board, a Gigabyte or MSI H61, I haven't come into one motherboard where you can update the BIOS and wouldn't support these new chips. That's my experience with the 3770 V3. It's just in the microcode. I think it's all supported, so on those BIOS updates. Okay, yeah, very true. Sorry, you donated again, and you basically just corrected what I was saying, Kev. Thanks for the donation again. Kenton, $5. Fort Bragg, wishing you luck on your deal hunting. You 100% motivated me to start building and selling computers. Cheers, mate. You are welcome. Building PCs in the used market, definitely in this time, in this day and age, is providing a lot of people with just, you know, you're providing gaming PCs for people that would, you know, that would otherwise go down to a retailer and get ripped off. And, you know, they're saving a bit of money. They're getting a good experience. You're getting a more personalized experience, and you're having a lot of fun in the process. Plus, you're saving e-waste. You know, you're not like increasing to the massive amounts of e-waste. That is a good argument in favor of used parts, of course. I always like that one. There's TPM 1.2 is what is needed to, not 2.0. Only OEMs need 2.0 at Tech City. Okay, thanks, Nigel. Thank you for the correction there. So if you are on an OEM system, you're going to need TPM 2.0. So basically that seems like Microsoft's like, okay, well, if you're on an OEM and you bought one of these overpriced OEMs in the past, we're going to force you to pay more money and upgrade again. If you got TPM 1.2 and you're an enthusiast, then you can get away with this. So, what a bit of a, I mean, I do call that double standards. Logical interruption, estimated price range for the RTX 3080 for the Win Hybrid 3 at Tech City. Estimated price range, I mean, USD, I wouldn't be paying any more than $1,000, but that's too low. You know, the market's going to price that card at around 1,500 USD. So like at least 1,600, 1,700, the card will go up astronomical levels. So parts hunt to Brizzy this week. Shampoo time. Oh, yeah, shampoo time. Sorry, man. Ugh. I've got to hit you up again. Sorry, dude. I'll hit you up behind the scenes. My bad. That is my bad. This is the memory. The short-term memory of Tech Yes City is pretty bad. Look, the long-term memory pretty good, but the short-term memory of, you know, is bad. I guess it's always about a balance. You cannot have a good long-term memory and a good short-term memory. If anyone in the comments section otherwise thinks so, then I need to meet you and I need to ask you for some tips. Because yeah, my long-term memory pretty good, but my short-term memory is terrible. yeah, like I guess that's a testament. You got so many things going on at the same time. You're like, ugh, geez Louise. I love that saying, geez Louise. It's a friendly term. No one can get angry at you for saying geez Louise. Anyway, how much would a 3090 need to be for you to buy it used? An RTX 3090, 2,500 Aussie. That's what I'd put the price on it. 2,500 Aussie for a 3090. That's when I'd buy it used. Yeah, so again, am I going to find a 3090 for 2,500 used? We can just go onto our little friend here, Marketplace, and go and check it out. Or Gumtree. I mean, you might get a better deal on Gumtree. I don't know. RTX 3090. Let's have a look locally here. 2,800 bucks, brand new. Hey, I mean, that's like, you could probably come in there and this guy, you could probably come in and, I mean, look at Aaron, dude. He's got the thumbs up as well. He's like, look, man, look, Aaron, I got to give you props, Aaron. You're not trying to rip someone off. Like, I mean, look, the 3090. Oh, wait, no, it's a 3080. Ah, I ripped myself off. Okay. Okay, no, Aaron, thumbs down, Aaron. Thumbs down, Aaron. Not thumbs up. Man, come on. I thought it was I typed in 3090 and I see a 3080. Come on. Okay, yeah, 3090s are all too expensive. Yeah, I wouldn't be buying any of these 3090s right now. It's just, I mean, like some of them are coming in, like, you know, Gaming X Trio is a pretty nice card. Like, I'm not going to lie, it's a pretty nice card. 3,900 new at the moment. This guy's not lying. Like, this guy's selling his card. Carl, he ain't lying about his prices and cards. But depends how quickly he wants it gone. You know what I mean? Does he want it gone at 2,500? No, we'll just check. We just sent him an offer live. There you go, guys. Don't do, like, I shouldn't be doing this stuff on live stream, eh? We just sent him an offer. I mean, you can I mean, yeah, you can do a 3090 gaming PC. I mean, I don't know how well it would go out. I mean, I sold one 3090 gaming PC in the past. I sold one, but the problem was I sold it on finance. So the guy, I knew the guy personally, and he wanted a 3090 gaming PC. So I've only sold one 3090 gaming PC in the past, and it was on like finance. So people cannot afford $5,000 for a gaming PC. It is ridiculously expensive. You know, you're getting to a stage where people just can't afford it. Like, it's just, that's it, you know? So you're in this realm of, okay, yikes. If you do buy something like this, you can be prepared to sit on it for a long time. Judging by, like, you can just see how many of these 3090s are for sale. You know, this was never a card that was sold in mass either, but there's a heap of people selling them. So it means no one's really buying them. So there's with your 3090. That's what's going on there. Anyway, I have a German side. What happens with Lazengo? You have to use Google Translator or comparable translation program. Where should I put the link in the page? I just put it in the comments. I should be able to see it. Like, after the stream's finished, I'll read up about it. I can't read up about it on live stream, man. It's too long. You know, people will be like, Brian, don't read a book on live stream, but I'll read it after the stream's done. Do you think this GPU shortage is going to die down like the 2017 miner craze? Yeah, it will. It'll die down. Like, and this time around, it's going to be very sudden. I think as the last time, it was more of a warning. See, the last time, people didn't know what was going to happen. That's the biggest difference between now and then. Then, no one knew what was going to happen. So a lot of, like, the price, everyone was mining crypto in 2017. Everyone was like, you know, oh, wow, this is going to go on forever. This is so amazing. Like, I'm making so much money. And they're telling their mates, they're going out, getting steak dinners every night. And then all of a sudden, their profitability is dropping. It's dropping fast. And they're like, oh, what do I do? Like, what's going on here? And then they're like, well, then they're starting to mine. They're like, nah, you know what? It's going to go back up. It's going to go back up. They keep mining. They keep mining. Then they get their power bill. And they're like, oh, I'm not making any money anymore. And then suddenly, it's like these people started to realize, oh, I'm not making money. So you started seeing GPUs come on the market. More GPUs came on the market. Then even more came on the market. And it became a flood. So this time around, however, I think if profitability was to suddenly drop down, and I've got that target, $1, when a 3060 Ti is making $1 a day, if that happens, and it can happen very quickly, don't believe me, And if that happens, you're going to see GPUs just come on the market like you would not believe. It's going to be even worse than it was in 2017 because this time around, a lot of people buying the GPUs were ready to jump on the new trend. They were ready to get the new cards as soon as they saw the signals. So that's the difference between now and then. This time there's actually a lot more to lose if you're heavily invested in crypto. That's all I'm going to say. Don't you think that even if crypto crashes, GPU shortage won't solve soon because of all the gamers who have been waiting, and a huge spike in demand will cause again MSRPs to rise? Dude, a lot of the gamers are just giving up. And I point back to this right here. Here's my one example. I mean, it's not a huge sample size, but it's still a sample size regardless that I think is indicative of what is going on in the market. And here we have it right here. 36 cards sold, 34 of those to crypto miners, 2 of those to gamers. Now, if we see the reverse effect and 34 cards start coming on the market, where's the gamers that are going to buy them? Again, the price has to drop. That's the only thing. So it's just all like, I mean, at the moment, it's just a waiting game. And a lot of you guys that are just like, well, yeah, this stuff's overpriced, I'm not buying it. You got the best mentality out there. Just let it sit there. The miners want to keep buying it, good for them. But sooner or later, they're going to get pressure from the ASIC miners. And when the ASIC miners come in, sooner or later, the writing's on the wall for GPU mining. It's just a matter of time. That's all. So there's that one, guys. Anyway, I've got to get moving now. I got to wrap this live stream up. I've got to get moving. We've got some cool content coming up for you guys very soon on the channel. And make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you hit that like button, comment as always, sub if you're enjoying that Tech Yes content, hit the sub button, ring the bell. And it's always good live streaming with you guys and talking in chat, hanging out, and just talking about the real issues that are affecting gamers right now. I'm always going to give you my opinion, always going to give you my 2 cents, or even now with inflation, it might become 3 cents. So I'm going to give you my 3 cents and never worry about that. And we'll catch you guys. We'll catch you guys in the next tech video very soon, but I'll quickly answer some questions, just some last minute questions before we get on out of here. What do you think about gamers who mine on their card while not playing? Yeah, it's absolutely fine. I mean, I've said this numerous times in the past. I don't hate miners. I don't blame them. Miners are just taking advantage of what was otherwise be glorified arbitrage. When there's a profit to be made, and money to be made, of course people are going to plug the gap. So that's what you've seen with prices of GPUs. You've seen that. You've seen essentially the markets pricing the graphics cards at where they are in terms of the profitability. That's the risk that people are willing to take. So in other words, a lot of the people buying these GPUs at their current profitability levels do think that the Ethereum mining is going to last for at least another 6 months. That's what they feel. And so when they buy those cards at those prices, that's what they're pricing in. So that's what I mean. The miners are just doing what any logical person would do that wants to make money in that regard. Do I think it's a joke that these cryptocurrencies allow the GPU miners and then they block out ASIC miners? Yes, I think it's an absolute joke. Do I think it's a joke that the gamers are the fallback? So when the crypto prices crash, the miners then want to sell all their cards to the gamers? Yeah, I think it's a joke. And I think NVIDIA and AMD need to be doing more to get cards in the hands of gamers. That's what I feel, at the MSRPs that they would like to promise them at. But they're not doing enough. I feel like there's just more than meets the eye to this situation. And the whole market's just distorted. That's the easiest way to say it. The whole thing is distorted, but at the end of the day, it's not a healthy market. And it's not a properly functioning market either when you're blocking out ASIC miners, period. So there it is. That's my opinion on it all. Anyway, guys, what I use for the audio setup is just the Wave 3. I'll get that one out of there. And I'll catch you guys in another video very soon. I got to boot and scoot and toot. And and make sure I don't get any soot on me in the process. Anyway, guys, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out for now. Love each and every one of you guys. And thanks for tuning in. You guys are awesome. And we'll see you in the next live stream very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.